Today, in this video, we are going to explore three very important things about high blood pressure in older adults. First, you will clearly see that high blood pressure is not a death sentence. If we understand it correctly and know how to control it, we can still live healthy, live happily, play with our grandchildren, go for walks, drink tea, and enjoy the remaining years of life in peace. Second, you will understand why taking medicine alone is not enough. Medicine is very important, but our daily lifestyle, what we eat, how we move, how well we sleep, whether we worry too much, all of that is what really decides whether our blood pressure will behave or not. Third, throughout this video we will go through very simple steps that anyone can do, without spending a lot of money and without doing anything beyond your strength. Just small things, cutting a bit of salt, walking a few extra steps, going to bed a little earlier, slowing your breathing when you feel stressed. But if you do them consistently, your blood pressure will change in a very different way. If you watch this video to the end, I believe you will no longer look at high blood pressure with a vague fear, but with a more proactive and calm attitude. I know what I'm facing, and I know what I can do every single day to help myself. Dear uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters, today, please allow me to sit down and talk with you like a doctor in the family, not in a noisy hospital, not in the middle of machines and injections, but as if we were sitting together in the living room, on a familiar chair, with a warm cup of tea in front of us, calmly talking about something that many people are dealing with: high blood pressure, and how to control it in a natural, safe, gentle way for older adults. During my years of practice, I have met many elderly patients, farmers who have spent their whole lives in the fields, retired teachers, drivers, market vendors, and elderly people in their 80s with white hair and slightly bent backs. Each person has their own story and circumstances, but they all share one very similar wish. I just hope that in the few years I have left, I can live peacefully, not be in the hospital all the time, not constantly worry about a stroke, not be afraid that one day I will suddenly never see my children and grandchildren again. And in those quiet, hidden worries, high blood pressure is almost always present. Many people walk into the clinic with anxious eyes and say, "Doctor, my blood pressure is always high. I've been taking medicine forever and it never seems to be cured. I guess I'm old now and just have to accept it." Every time that happens, I always gently explain, it's true that high blood pressure is dangerous, but no one said it is the end. It is a chronic condition, which means we will be living with it for a long time, but it can absolutely be controlled. We can turn it from a threat into a strict companion, meaning that if we take care of ourselves properly, it will stay quiet and not cause trouble. Today, let's treat this talk as a private consultation between a doctor and the family. I will try to speak slowly and simply, so that after listening, you can apply what you hear directly to your daily life. Now, let's clarify something. What exactly is high blood pressure, and why is it so concerning? You can imagine your body as a very large house. The heart is the pump, and the blood vessels are the water pipes running everywhere in that house, up to the brain, down to the legs, into the kidneys, into the eyes, to every organ. When the heart pumps, blood flows through the vessels and creates pressure on the vessel walls. That is what we call blood pressure. When that pressure is moderate, the blood vessels can handle it. The heart works comfortably and all the organs are well supplied. But when that pressure is too high and stays high for many years, it is like having the water tap in your house turned fully open all the time. The pipe walls wear out faster, more easily leak and crack. The pump has to work very hard, operating under overload day after day in our bodies. The long-term consequences of high blood pressure can be the blood vessels in the brain weaken, making them more likely to be blocked or burst, leading to stroke. The blood vessels in the heart become hardened and narrowed, making heart attacks more likely. The vessels in the kidneys are damaged, causing the kidneys to gradually weaken and function poorly. The vessels in the eyes are affected, causing blurred vision and damage to the retina. What is most frightening is that high blood pressure often does not cause any obvious pain. Many patients tell me, "I did not feel anything, doctor. I still went to the market, cooked, and watched the grandkids like normal. It was only when I measured my pressure that I found out it was high. Because it is so silent, it becomes dangerous. It is like an underground stream that keeps flowing and gradually eroding the riverbank, until one day the entire bank collapses. But please do not be frightened. We learn about this not to be afraid, but to become more aware and proactive. Once we understand how it works, we will know what we can do each day to lessen the burden on our heart and blood vessels. Before talking about ways to stabilize blood pressure, I want us to look back at some very common mistakes. If we keep falling into these habits, no matter how good the medicine is, the effect will only be partial. The first mistake, stopping medicine as soon as you feel better. Many people take their medication for a while, feel less dizzy, less headache, less tired, and then think I must be cured now. I will stop taking it so it does not harm my liver and kidneys, so they stop on their own. A few weeks or months later, the blood pressure rises again, sometimes even higher than before, and they assume it is probably the weather or I am just tired. The second mistake, trusting only herbal remedies and folk medicine and completely abandoning the doctor's prescription. Folk remedies, leaves, and traditional drinks, some of them may offer a bit of support, but up to now, blood pressure medications are still the group of medicines that have been very thoroughly studied in terms of effectiveness and side effects. When people suddenly stop Western medicine and only take herbal remedies, they may feel they are choosing a more natural path, but in reality, they are placing themselves at much greater risk. The third mistake, eating and living exactly the same as before, relying solely on medication. They still eat very salty food, love deep-fried dishes, salty braised dishes, pickles and fatty meats. They still barely move, spending most of the day sitting or lying down. They still stay up late watching TV or on the phone. They still worry, get angry, and overthink constantly. Then they ask, why am I taking medicine all the time? But my blood pressure is still not good. Medicine can be powerful. But if we are fighting against it with an unhealthy lifestyle, the medicine cannot possibly do all the work. The fourth mistake, rarely measuring blood pressure, only doing it when feeling dizzy. Some people measure once every few months or even once a year. Others depend entirely on how they feel. I feel normal today, so my blood pressure must be fine. In reality, blood pressure can go up and down throughout the day at different times. And if we do not measure, we simply will not know. The goal of this video is for us to gradually let go of these mistakes and build a lifestyle that is more comfortable and better for the heart. Now we move into a very important part, how to eat in a way that is gentle on the heart and blood pressure. This is not about a harsh, miserable diet, not about punishing yourself with food, but about making smarter choices for each meal. Let's start with salt. Salt makes the body retain water. When there is too much water inside the blood vessels, the pressure inside them increases, the heart has to pump harder, and blood pressure more easily rises. All our lives, many of us have been used to eating very salty food, constantly dipping into fish sauce, braised dishes that are very salty and sharp, salty pickles, telling someone, tomorrow. Start eating completely bland food is almost impossible because the palate is not used to it yet. Everything tastes flavourless and hard to swallow, so the right way is to reduce it gradually this week. Use a little less salt and a little less fish sauce. Next week, reduce it a bit more. Replace the salty taste with more onion, garlic, ginger, lemongrass, pepper, and herbs so the food stays fragrant and appealing. You can try this if your soups, stir-fries, and braises used to be very salty. Now dilute your fish sauce, go lighter on salt during marinating, and dip less. Once you get used to this, you will realize that the food is still delicious. It is just that you used to push it too far towards salty. Besides salt, we need to pay attention to processed foods, instant noodles, sausages, canned meats, pre-seasoned frozen foods, snacks. These foods often contain a lot of salt and preservatives. Cutting down on them is not only good for blood pressure, but also for your kidneys and liver. Next is vegetables and fruit. Vegetables do not just help with digestion and constipation, they also supply many minerals, including potassium, which helps balance the salt-sodium in our body and supports blood pressure control. A simple rule you can remember is when you look at your plate, try to make sure at least half of it is vegetables. They do not need to be fancy dishes.
Boiled greens, vegetable soup, lightly stir-fried vegetables, a simple salad, whatever suits your taste. Fruit is also a gift from nature. Bananas, oranges, grapefruits, apples, pears, kiwis, each provides its own vitamins and fiber. However, if you have diabetes or high blood sugar, you should ask your doctor about the amount and type of fruit that is suitable, and be careful not to eat very sweet fruits in large quantities. We also need to talk about fat. Not all fats are bad, the body still needs a certain amount of fat to function, but saturated fats such as pork fat, chicken skin, deep-fried foods, and organ meats, if eaten in large amounts over the years, will raise blood lipids, cause vessel hardening, and make blood pressure harder to control, if possible. You can eat fish more often than red meat, especially sea fish. Limit dishes that are heavily fried and prioritize steaming, boiling, and light braising.
Use vegetable oil in moderate amounts, not so much that it floods the pan. Occasionally eat a small handful of nuts such as pumpkin seeds, almonds, walnuts. Once a day is enough. And then there is sugar and starch. High blood pressure often travels with its friend, diabetes. High blood sugar also damages blood vessels and harms the heart, kidneys, and eyes. So if we want to protect both blood pressure and blood sugar, we should gradually cut down on sugary beverages, sweet milk tea, and heavily sugared coffee. Eat less cake, candy, and ice cream on a daily basis. Avoid large portions of rice in a single meal. We can replace part of it with brown rice, sweet potato, or oats. Another small but powerful secret is to eat more slowly. When we eat slowly and chew thoroughly, the body has time to feel satisfied, and we are less likely to overeat. Slow eating also improves digestion and reduces bloating, acid reflux, and discomfort. After talking about meals, let's talk about movement, many people think. I am old now. How can I possibly exercise? But in reality, appropriate movement is one of the best natural medicines for blood pressure. You do not need to run. You do not need to go to the gym. And you do not need to do anything extreme. What we need is each day. The body needs to move at least a little, instead of only sitting or lying down for long periods. If your health allows it and your doctor has not forbidden exercise, walking is often the simplest option. You do not have to walk far or fast. You can walk around the house, in the yard, up and down the alley, or in a nearby park. Start with 5-10 minutes a day. Then slowly increase to 15, 20 minutes, and then to 30 minutes if you feel good. If your knees or spine are weak, you can choose chair exercises. Sit firmly in a chair with your back straight. Raise both arms overhead and gently lower them back down. Gently roll your shoulders and neck. Lean your body slightly to the left, then to the right. Flex and extend each leg as if you were lightly kicking. Do each movement slowly, breathing in and out steadily, without forcing yourself. In addition, deep breathing is an exercise that anyone can do, even those who are very weak. You can try it right now. Sit upright with your shoulders relaxed. Inhale slowly through your nose, counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 1-2 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Repeat this 5-10 times. This exercise helps the body slow down, calms the nervous system, slightly slows the heart rate, and eases blood pressure. It is excellent if practiced in the morning after waking up and in the evening before going to bed, or whenever you feel restless and anxious. Of course, if at any time during exercise you feel chest pain, severe shortness of breath, dizziness, or intense headache, stop immediately and inform your doctor. Do not push yourself beyond your limits. At our age, safety must always come first. Now, let's talk about mental health and sleep. Two factors that many people overlook when thinking about blood pressure: stress, tension, anger, worry, sadness. All of these can drive blood pressure sharply upward. Older adults often worry about many things. Worry that their children are not yet stable in life. Worry about their grandchildren's education. Worry about money. Worry about family conflicts. Worry about their own health. Will I have a stroke one day? Will I end up bedridden? These worries are real, and I do not deny them. But what we can do is reduce the physical burden these worries place on our bodies. When we are stressed, The body releases chemicals that constrict blood vessels and make the heart beat faster. If this state persists, blood pressure is very unlikely to behave, even if we eat well and take our medication. So, what can we do each day to help our mind feel a little lighter? First, come back to deep breathing. This is not just an exercise for the lungs, but also for the mind. Second, choose a gentle activity that relaxes you, caring for plants, looking at flowers, folding clothes, sewing, knitting, or tidying up a corner of the house. These seemingly small tasks help the mind break free from endless worry. Third, speak out instead of bottling everything up inside. You can share with your children, friends, or spouse. Sometimes simply saying, "I feel a bit worried and sad today," can already make you feel lighter. Sleep is also incredibly important. Older adults often sleep lightly, wake up easily in the middle of the night, and then struggle to fall back asleep. Prolonged insomnia does not only make the mind tired, it also makes blood pressure harder to control. You can build the habit of going to bed at a fairly regular time, ideally before 11 p.m. Limit stressful news, intense movies, and excessive phone use in the 30-60 minutes before bedtime. Listen to soft music, read a few pages of a book, or do some gentle stretching on the bed. Avoid coffee, strong tea, and energy drinks in the afternoon and evening before closing your eyes. Try doing 5-10 deep breaths as described earlier. Think of it as a small ritual to tell your body it's time to rest now. Another very important part is measuring blood pressure and taking medication as prescribed, if possible. You should have a blood pressure monitor at home. It does not have to be very expensive, just reliable and easy to use. Each day, choose a couple of fixed times to measure: morning after waking up, going to the bathroom, and resting for 3-5 minutes. Then measure. Evening 1-2 hours before bedtime, after you have been sitting quietly for a bit, not right after exercise. When measuring, remember, sit on a chair with your back supported, feet flat on the floor, not crossed. Do not talk during the measurement. Do not measure right after drinking coffee, smoking, climbing stairs, or exercising. After each reading, write it down in a small notebook: the date, time, blood pressure reading, and heart rate. This notebook is very valuable. Every time you go for a checkup, bring it with you. The doctor can see how your blood pressure has been over many days, not just rely on a single reading taken at the clinic, where many people experience white coat hypertension because they feel nervous. Regarding medication, I want to emphasize clearly all these natural strategies: diet, exercise, rest, and mental care are meant to support, not replace. Blood pressure medication, do not stop medication just because you feel better. Adjust doses on your own, increasing or decreasing based on how you feel. Switch medicines based on what someone at the market, online, or next door suggested. If, after taking your medicine, you feel markedly more tired, very dizzy, your blood pressure drops too low, or you have unusual symptoms, write them down and tell your doctor so your treatment can be adjusted properly. To make everything easier to picture, let me tell you in more detail the story of Mr. Nam, the man I mentioned earlier. He is nearly 70 years old and used to be a factory worker. When he was younger, he often did heavy physical work and was very strong. After retirement, he became less active, yet he kept his old eating habits: salty food, little water, strong braised dishes, and pickles. He smoked for many years and sometimes drank alcohol with friends. His blood pressure started to rise when he was in his mid-50s. The first time he went to the doctor, he was given medicine and told to take it every day. At first, he followed instructions. After a few months, when he no longer had headaches or dizziness and felt less tired, he thought, "I must be fine now." So he started taking medicine according to his mood on days he remembered. He took it on days he forgot. He did not. Sometimes he went a whole week without it, only taking it again when a blood pressure reading was very high. Several years later, one afternoon, after helping his child carry heavy items, he suddenly experienced a severe headache, unsteady walking, weakness on one side of his body, and slurred speech. His family panicked and rushed him to the hospital. Fortunately, he was diagnosed with a transient ischemic attack, a temporary shortage of blood to the brain rather than a full-blown stroke. But it was a strong enough warning for him to realize how dangerous the path he was on truly was. From that moment, he began to change his perspective. When he came to see me, he asked very sincerely, "What should I do now?" "Doctor, is taking medicine alone enough?" I told him medicine is essential. But if you only take medicine while still eating very salty food, barely moving, staying up late, and worrying all the time, then the medicine has to carry a very heavy load. If you are willing to share that load by making small changes in your daily life, your blood pressure will be much more stable. Together, we created a simple plan. Meals, he gradually lowered his salt intake, used less fish sauce, ate fewer pickles, increased his vegetables, ate more fish than fatty meat, and avoided sugary drinks and sweets.
Exercise every morning. He walked around his house for 10 minutes. A few weeks later, he increased it to 15, 20 minutes, walking slowly and breathing evenly. Mind, every afternoon he watered his plants, talked with his grandchildren, and listened to some music. Sleep. He tried to turn off the TV earlier, stopped watching intense shows late at night, and before bed, he practiced deep breathing and gently massaged his hands and feet. Medication. He asked his child to buy a pill organizer with compartments for each day, which made it easier to remember. 3 months later, he came back for a follow-up. His steps were steadier, his face brighter, and his smile softer. He showed me his blood pressure notebook. The readings were no longer extremely high one day and very low the next, but much more stable. He laughed and said, "Now if I eat as salty as before, I cannot stand it. It feels way too harsh. I have gotten used to walking. On days I do not walk, I feel restless. I sleep better. No more tossing and turning like before. When I see my blood pressure readings calm and steady, I feel calm inside too. That is not magic. It is the result of daily, small changes, repeated with patience. Dear uncles, aunts, brothers, and sisters, we have spent quite some time together in this conversation today. I know it may sound like a lot, but actually, if we condense everything, it all comes down to a few very important points. High blood pressure is a chronic condition. It is dangerous if neglected, but it is not a death sentence. Medication is the pillar, the foundation. We must never stop it on our own. Lifestyle is the rest, the part we can control every day to help the medicine work better each day. We can ask ourselves, today, did I eat a little less salty than yesterday? Today, did I manage to add a bit more vegetables and fruit to my meals? Today, did I sit all day? Or did I stand up, walk, and stretch at least a little? Tonight, will I go to bed earlier than yesterday? Or will I stay up past midnight worrying about things that cannot be solved just by worrying? Today, did I measure my blood pressure and write down the numbers to understand how my body is doing? Or am I still leaving everything in the dark and leaving it up to luck? No one expects you to change everything at once. You only need one very small step each day. Today. Maybe it is just putting a little less fish sauce in your bowl. Tomorrow, maybe it is walking 5-10 minutes more. The next day, maybe it is turning off the TV earlier and trying deep breathing before sleep. The day after that, maybe it is remembering to measure your blood pressure and record it consistently. Those small steps, if taken regularly, will lead to big changes for your heart, your blood pressure, and the quality of your life. I hope that, after watching this video, you will no longer see high blood pressure as just a scary label, but as a strict companion, one that must be respected and cared for, so that you can live in peace with it. I wish you the most stable blood pressure possible, the healthiest heart possible, and the calmest spirit possible, so that every morning when you wake up, you can still smile and say to yourself, today, I have been given one more day to love myself and my family.